Well, so Rocco, thank you for joining us today.
Well, great to be with you. Thank you for inviting me.
I think to start off, we're in Italy at an Italian hotel investment conference. So maybe, and obviously Italy is very strongly associated with your family. It would be great to get a sense of how important it's been to the Rocco Forte Hotels brand and any projects you've got at the moment in the country and any future plans. That would be great to hear.
Yeah, well, it sort of happened because obviously I started from scratch again some 27 years ago, and so there was you couldn't really have a clear plan. It was pragmatic, our development. As projects came along, we decided whether we're interested or not, and went into them. And we seem to have developed quite a footprint in Italy. And that's where our main concentration is at the moment, and more than half our business is in Italy now. And so, with a strong presence here, we have a regional office. So, with any project, we can hit the ground running. We don't have to learn about the systems in Italy, understand the difficulties that you find in Italy with planning and so on. And so we're you have a great advantage. A lot of operators are coming in from overseas, and we get everything that comes up in Italy tends to come to us and at an early stage. So we can quite quickly decide whether we like the look of the project, and then get there. We're one of the first people at the table, which of course also helps. We've got a number of projects under development now. We've got the most recently announced one was a small hotel in Noto, the center of Baroque. And this is an old Palazzo Castelluccio, which has been restored, and we're turning it into a 35-bedroom hotel. We have a project another project in Puglia, Re del Cardinale, which we're doing with Edition, a Benetton family. We have obviously the hotel in Milan, which was announced quite some time ago and has been delayed a bit by COVID, a bit through construction issues, which should open next year. I think it's going to be the latter half of the year rather than the early half of the year. Now, a hotel in Naples, which is already under development, an old palazzo there, 45-bedroom property, which would be quite unique in Naples. And Naples doesn't really have a class hotel at the moment, so this will provide it, and I think it'll be very successful as a result. And we're looking at a number of other projects around Italy, which are quite an advanced stage, and I can't yet talk about them.
What are you looking for when an opportunity comes? Is it the city, the location within the city? Is it the building itself? Is it all those things? What do you how do you assess a project's viability?
Well, obviously, at the beginning, you obviously want to be in the major cities, and we are now will have representation over the next 2 years in all the major cities except Venice, and we're still looking to find something in Venice, which is, of course, very, very difficult. But there are a lot of other areas of Italy. I mean, the attraction of Italy as a tourist destination is unique, and there are a lot of destinations in Italy where you can go and open a hotel and achieve very high room rates, and not very few countries in Europe like that. There are all for example, the Amalfi Coast. We opened in Sicily and in Palermo. There was no hotel at a level. Obviously, the Villigea was always a grand hotel, but it hadn't been run as a luxury hotel for some time.
Are you making the markets, and if you're saying these places haven't got...
So you can achieve the rate, and that makes it worthwhile making the effort to be here. So we'll continue to expand in Italy. But obviously, if we want to be an international company, then we've got to move further afield. We're getting ourselves organized now because, we'd like to be in the States, we'd like to be in Spain and some other parts of Europe. We don't have enough people on the ground at the moment. We have a our development team, which is run by my son now, is based in London. It's relatively small. We don't have anybody on the ground in the States or in other parts of Europe, and that's what we're working on now. So we get to hear about projects early on. At the moment, otherwise we hear them late in the day, and usually they're already dealt with. The operator's already been found.
Just taking on that kind of question on. I mean, last year I think it was you had the investment from Saudi Arabia's PIF buying a 49% stake in the company. Has that given you has that helped you with these expansion plans going forward? Has that kind of made it more of a priority?
Yes, because it's given us, there was an injection of capital into the company as well as buying some of the existing shareholders out. CDP came out at that stage, and then I had a number of my sisters. My father invested money in the business when I first set it up, and a number of my sisters were not involved. I have 5 sisters. So only Olga's involved in the business, and so they were rather reluctant shareholders. So I wanted to, it was the right thing for me to do to get them out of the business. That's what they wanted. And so this opportunity came along. I decided to see if the market would be interested in buying a stake, and PIF came along, asked for an exclusive, and we went ahead with them. And we did this deal. But there's an injection of capital into the company as well. And that's given us a bit more flexibility than we had before. Initially, we're accelerating the refurbishment program in our existing hotels. For example, in this current year, our year ends in April, and most of the work is done in the winter when the hotels are quieter. We're spending over 40 million in the existing hotels, which is at least twice as much as we've spent before in any one year. So there's an accelerated program of refurbishment taking place. But in terms of even when you're going for management contracts, which is the easiest way to expand without capital, nowadays there's key money and things like that, and we're in a better position to be able to compete in that area than we were before as a result of their investment. They're very good partners. They're very, obviously, financially very strong. They have a long-term vision. They're not in and out as some funds are, and therefore it gives us continuity, which together with the family, which is also, I have no intention of getting, if I wanted to get out, I'd have got out now. I want to continue running the business for the foreseeable future and eventually see my children doing the same. So we take a long-term view of things, and they're completely aligned with us on this.
Did you see an opportunity kind of post-COVID, I guess, to really accelerate the growth of the company? Is that why you were looking, or was it just a general evolution of how you were growing?
I mean, the moment, there was a moment when I saw that there were transactions in the marketplace at quite high multiples, so I thought that was an opportunity, and I wanted to test that. I got Rothschilds involved, and we went to the market, and that's how the PIF offer came forward. I mean, there's been, of course, a significant increase in room rates in the luxury sector since the opening after COVID. And of course, that's made a big difference to the overall profitability of luxury businesses as a result.
And you said that management contracts are the easiest way to expand quickly, I guess. I mean, what's the mix within the business now in terms of owner operating, management, and how do you see that changing going forward?
Well, up till now, we haven't had management contracts where we haven't owned the hotels ourselves. We've taken on long-term leases. And I prefer a lease to a management contract because you have a complete control of the operations. With a management contract, the owner is actually responsible for the business, and therefore he has a right to interfere, and they have a tendency to do so, even if sometimes what they'd like to do isn't in the best interests of the profitability of their hotel.
And going forward, obviously PIF has got a vision for Saudi Arabia and the Middle East. I mean, is that part of your expansion plans to go there as well as the US and other countries?
Yes, we're looking at the Middle East now. I've been to Saudi Arabia a couple of times in the last 12 months. It's amazing what's happening there, the energy that there is there, and the excitement about the change that's taking place. From the number of women in the workplace, which was sort of 5 years ago, you didn't see that. All want to be part of this new regeneration project that's going on. Each major project has an international expert in charge of it with a good team, and they have quite a tight timeline. The only swear word in Saudi Arabia today is delay. If you go to the prince and say there's a delay, he won't accept it. So it's quite exciting. Obviously, it's going to take a while for the infrastructure to catch up with the projects that they have on hand. But we've secured one hotel at Aluna, which is on the Red Sea, is north of the main Red Sea project, and on an island. And we're discussing another one at Diriyah at the moment. So those are the two projects I think we'll focus on to start with. So yes, also we're looking at Abu Dhabi and other areas in the Middle East, because I think you need to have a setup there to be able to operate effectively in that part of the world.
So it's a very broad expansion plan in terms of, you'd like to be in the US as well, and Asia and certain other parts of Europe. I mean, there's kind of a lot of possibilities for you, I guess, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I mean, the US, 45% of our business comes out of the US now, and some hotels it's over 50%. So it's a market that we know well, where we have a strong following. It seems silly not to be represented there as well. But I think, the issue is always the logistics, and if you have operations which are miles and miles away, it's very difficult to run them in the same way and get the same culture and feeling. I like to be able to visit my properties on a regular basis. I think one of the important things in leadership was one of the questions you wanted to ask me, is to be there, to be seen, to be present. So I make a big point of getting into my hotels a lot, being with the staff in the hotels, and also with the sales force on the front line, because that's where it all starts. And I go to ILTM, I do a road show in the States every year, and so on. I'm supporting the sales team, which is very important.
It's probably quite different to how a lot of the bigger hotel companies operate now, whether it's boards, multiple people, CEOs, and you're kind of still very much involved in the running and everything to do with the hotels. Is that possible as you scale up, do you think? Will it be more of a challenge?
I think over the next 5 years, I think we probably double the size of a number of hotels, and I think it's possible within that context. Whether I have the energy after that, I don't know. We'll see. But obviously, you have to adapt to some degree as a business grows. But in the old business that my father started, where we had 100,000 employees, actually, there was a culture, and there was quite a lot of. My father was very visible, and of course that's where I learned it from, the importance of it, and being known. People like to work for someone they understand, rather than an amorphous organization.
And just finally, I'm conscious of time. It'd be great to know your thoughts about the family legacy of the business, because obviously it's very important to you. And given what happened to the previous incarnation, how have you structured your business now so that the family's involved?
Well, the family's involved in two ways. It controls the business. In the old business, towards the end, we had about 5% of the shares, so we didn't control it. It was a public company. It was a hostile takeover bid, and that's how it came to be sold. This business, we own 51% now, and that, at the end of the day, any decision to sell depends on me, and so I'm not going to sell if I don't want to. But in terms of the family getting involved, my children are involved, but they have specific roles. As I mentioned, Charles, my son, is doing the development side. Since he's taken that over, it's really moved moved significantly. My daughter Lydia does restaurants and bars. She focuses on those, improving the effectiveness of our restaurants, and particularly with a view to bringing in the local market and local guests. And Irene, my third daughter, who was actually consulting on the spa, she's an expert in spas. You see her, she speaks at a number of the international spa conferences and fairs. She's developed her own skincare business, which is going very well. So she now consults on our spas. She's running her own business.
Fantastic. So Rocco, thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you very much for having me.